Welcome back, everybody, to Toronto Today here on The Parlay. I'm your host, Luca, alongside my co-host, Michael, and we are back on this fine Monday to bring you another great edition of this show. In today's show, we're going to talk about the Raptors, their red-hot play. They keep the wins coming, and the Maple Leafs, well, they continue to choke away 4-1 leads. And then we're going to get into our Canadian of the day, look at some Canadian talent that has been playing well lately. And then the bet of the night, as always, Mike and I will give you our best bet for today. And hopefully it will be of use for anybody who does use this best bet for themselves. All right, Mike. So before we dive into it, how was your weekend, man?
Solid weekend, I gotta say. And I had some money last night on the Golden State Warriors because for me, all eyes were on the return of Klay Thompson. And what a moment that was. And I felt like, with Klay's return, his addition to the lineup, they were going to get that extra boost. And they did. They covered the 7-point spread against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So good weekend all in all for me. And, there's a lot of sports to take in. How about you, my guy?
Yeah, I was just glued to the couch all day yesterday watching football, literally from 1 o'clock to all the way to midnight for the final game. That was one of the craziest NFL games I've ever seen. People honestly thought the tie was going to come in. And it's funny because there are a lot of people who I know that, teased the Jags winning, which they did, and then a tie in that final Sunday football game, which almost came in. But of course, the Raiders, they kicked the field goal to win the game. I was happy with that decision, Mike, because I had the Raiders +3 and on the money line, so I did not want to see a tie. So I was happy with 2 seconds left. I saw Derek Carr go like this because I honestly thought they were going to run the timeout and play for the tie, which would have saw the Chargers make the playoffs as well. But all in all, it was a crazy day of NFL action, and I'm super excited for the wild card weekend next week. We got some good matchups to look forward to.
Yeah, that would have been crazy if that that happened. And I could have said, why not do that? Why not play for the tie? You would have got in anyway. So I wouldn't have
Yeah,
been
there was a lot of
surprised.
conspiracy theorists after saying, yeah, what could have been, right? So, yeah, we'll see what happens this weekend with the NFL games. But we're now going to talk about the Raptors, the red hot Raptors. They continue to get it done. They've won 6 games in a row. It looked like they weren't going to cover that number on Friday against the Jazz, but they did. They did not cover in yesterday's win, but they still were able to win. I want to just talk about Fred VanVleet here off the top. And let's go back to that Friday game. Let's backpedal a little bit. So it looked like the Jazz were going to win that game. I mean, they came out with a bunch of momentum. They were playing well. They come up with that big lead. They were actually leading going into the second half. And then Fred VanVleet happened. He had a 37-point triple-double, which included a third quarter in which he had 24 points on basically a perfect shooting stat line, and he scored 17 straight points. And it's funny because I was looking at the player props for this one. VanVleet shattered literally every personal player prop for this. I'm talking points, rebounds, assists, steals, even blocks. He literally played like an all-star, catapulting the Raptors to victory here. You look at VanVleet, he continues to get it done. This Raptors team, they continue to win. And yeah, you got to love it. You got to love what they're doing right now.
Absolutely. First triple-double of Fred VanVleet's young career. And you got to give it up to him because he really worked for that one. And as you kind of mentioned there about that third quarter, the Raps were down big. They were stuck at this entire game. And then Fred VanVleet starts to take over. And I have to say that was probably the best performance I have ever seen from a Raptor player in a quarter. He was doing on every end of the court. Obviously, what he did offensively was unfathomable. Like the way he concluded that third quarter with that logo 3, which is just icing on the cake and kind of sums up where his audacity was to even be able to think about taking those types of shots. That's his confidence level right now. And he looks like Steph Curry out there, man. With the amount of shots that he's taking, the amount of 3-pointers that he's taking. And this is Fred VanVleet's the reason right now that the Raptors are continuing this push. And credit to him. It's about not only the amount that he's doing and how well he's doing, it's also the timing of when he is doing it. He's doing this in the clutch. And I got to say, Fred VanVleet right now, Luca, he definitely looks like an all-star and even like an MVP candidate if he continues to play at this level.
I mean, look at even last night's game. The Pelicans were up by 3 with, I think, about like a minute and 30 left. You thought, okay, the winning streak's going to come to an end here. VanVleet hits a deep 3 to tie it up, and then he hits another one to give the Raptors the lead, thus sealing it for them. So it's crazy how all of a sudden Fred VanVleet is just putting on this show for us all. We all knew he had the capability of taking over a game and getting red hot, but this type of run that he's on right now, yeah, I don't think we've ever seen it. I mean, you got to go back to the Kawhi Leonard playoff run. The last time we saw a Raptors player just be this hot game in and game out. It's crazy what he's doing. He's shutting up the naysayers and he's just going about his business. You love to see it. Like, he doesn't show a lot of emotion out there. Just give him the ball. He's going to hit his shots. But it's just crazy that he continues to just go on these personal runs. And speaking of the, all-star game and whether or not Fred is going to be an all-star, I personally think he should be an all-star. His performance out there on the court, speaks volumes to that. And it's not just during this personal run where he's been averaging, 30 plus points. He's been doing it all season. And he's one of the big reasons why the Raptors were in a position to still be competitive when they didn't get off to that great start. And one of the reasons why they're in this position now where, they've won 6 in a row, they're in 7th, they're moving up the standings. Fred VanVleet has done it from game one. But what's ludicrous to me, Mike, is a guy like Kyrie Irving, who's played in one game, has almost double the amount of votes as a Fred VanVleet. Like, right now, you look at, all-star voting, I think VanVleet's like 10th. There's a couple of guys who have no business being ahead of him. Even a guy like Derrick Rose, and I love Derrick Rose, but Fred VanVleet deserves to be higher up than a guy like Derrick Rose and Kyrie Irving.
Absolutely.
So it almost goes to show you that, yeah, the all-star voting system is kind of BS, and it should be reevaluated because essentially it's a popularity contest. And for as good as VanVleet has been playing, I don't know if he's going to get into the all-star game. We're going to be talking about Fred VanVleet, the all-star snub, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, we'll kind of see how this process plays out. Obviously, they have the first, section here, which is the all-star voting, fan voting, and yeah, that's always skewed. It's always, like you said, a popularity contest, and at this point, I can't put too much weight into that when you see the types of names that are ahead of Fred VanVleet right now. Do I think he'll get in eventually? I think at this point, yeah, he's made enough noise, and there's enough coaches now who have kind of taken notice of the work that Fred VanVleet is doing. Obviously, the coaches have their vote after the fan voting for sort of those reserves. I think at this point, obviously, I don't know if this will happen. I think he deserves to start. He should be starting, and I know we won't get there because of how the margin of how far back he is right now in the voting process. But I am pretty confident in saying with this recent run that he's been on, this scorcher, he's done enough to really get himself in that. And I think he'll probably be the Eastern Conference Player of the Week this week after what he's been doing. I mean, 30 plus points in 6 of his last 8 games. It's ridiculous. And as I mentioned, like a little Steph Curry kind of analogy earlier, it's been nearly a month since he's played a game in which he's attempted fewer than 10 3-pointers. And also on top of that, made fewer than 4. This guy is shooting lights out right now of the basketball, and if he doesn't get an all-star game, you got to revamp that whole voting process because Fred VanVleet absolutely deserves to be in, Luca.
Oh, yeah, I agree. He definitely deserves to be there. It's going to be a matter of if he gets there because, yeah, I don't think he's going to get there through fan voting, unfortunately. Huge discrepancy there. But, yeah, hopefully, coaches who do vote recognize what he's doing. And it's not only on offense, it's on defense, too. Like, he can shut down the other team's best guard. And we've seen what he's done to elite guards like, Stephen Curry, Damian Lillard. He can lock him up. He can clamp him up. So that's what goes unnoticed with Fred. We talk about his offensive capabilities. We talk about his Steph Curry type range, but he also brings it on the defensive end. So it's crazy how, you look at this guy undrafted and where he started and where he is now, he is headed in such a great direction that Raptors fans just can't help but smile. So it's really, really good to see. What's not good to see, the Maple Leafs blowing yet another 4-1 lead. It looked like they were going to win this game, Mike, shorthanded. If you had the Leafs on the puck line, you were licking your chops, and all of a sudden, the collapse happened. And, the Avs come all the way back. They win this game in overtime. The over went over again. 8 of the last 9 now have gone over in terms of goals being scored. So, you look at the Leafs. I mean, they had this game, and then they just fell apart. So, are you alarmed that the Leafs are once again having this problem of blowing a lead, or do you think it's just an anomaly that it happened because they were shorthanded and going up against, one of the best teams in the league?
Yeah, the best team in the league right now, especially when playing at home. And No, I'm not alarmed. You know why? Because this is the first time the Leafs have lost a third period lead this season, which is quite a feat, especially when you're halfway through the year essentially. And if you're gonna do that, it's on the road against a team like Colorado. Now, obviously, you kind of you think back to that Boston series because they did blow a 4-1 lead in that series. You blow a 4-1 lead against the Avs, and all the jokes and everything come out, but this is a completely different group right now and a completely different team. I'm not sure how many guys are actually still on the team from that 2013 year. So until they sort of exercise that playoff demon, I still think that 4-1 punchline is going to come back to haunt them. But that being said, I think it was, obviously you want to come away with 2 points when you're up 4-1 and Matthews is playing the way that he's playing, but it's still a well earned point on the road. And it's something that they can hopefully continue to build off here and not really spin it in a negative way, more so a positive way that they did take a point in Colorado, which is something not a lot of teams have been able to do this season.
Yeah, I think it's literally just that. It's a punchline, and it's just to bring up the memes and the jokes of them blowing a lead. But am I alarmed? No. I think this group is well composed to face this type of adversity when it does happen. You're not gonna win every game. You're gonna blow leads. It's only a matter of time throughout the season. But I'll say this: it's better it happens now and not in the playoffs. So get it out of your system. If the Leafs are gonna blow a lead, it's better than it happens now. So yeah, I'm not gonna overreact to it. And again, the Leafs, were shorthanded. They had no business winning this game. And the fact that they did jump out to that early big lead and they were playing hard, that was really good to see against, the best team, especially at home. We know about the Avs' incredible home record. And this has been a team that has been money against the spread against Eastern Conference opponents. With the win against the Leafs, they're now 6-0 straight up, against Eastern Conference opponents. So they can, beat you, against the spread or straight up. And we saw it again. So the Leafs, they hung in there. They had a chance. And like you said, Mike, at least they brought it to overtime. They were able to salvage a point. And now for them, just, move on. Don't even think about this. Hopefully you could get back to full strength for your next game. And see, what you got going into next game. And Auston Matthews, I mean, he was one of the biggest talking points of that, game against the Avs. And he had 2 goals to now put, him on pace to score 58. So when you talk about the Rocket Richard, award, do you like Matthews' odds here? Like just looking at it, Matthews, he's currently 3rd in goals with 22, and you got guys like Draisaitl and Ovechkin ahead of him. Would you be willing to put some money on Matthews at this point to potentially win that award? I mean, pretty good value right now.
You have to. You have to. This guy is the best goal scorer in the National Hockey League right now. And he's doing this with the fact that he missed an entire preseason, had no preseason, he had offseason wrist surgery, and missed a couple games at the start of the year. I think you absolutely have to put that money on Matthews. I think right now he's on pace, 22 goals. He's on pace for 58 this season. That's a ludicrous number. And I think that's only going to increase because I feel like we're talking about that number increasing day by day by day. Obviously, that's a very large number for him to hit, but there's no reason why Auston Matthews can't hit that number right now. I think he's playing some great hockey. He could have had one of his best games, if not his best game of the year against Colorado. For whatever reason, I think he loves playing Colorado, but that's a different topic. And yeah, I think at plus 450, those are solid odds to bank on last year's Rocket Richard winner to step up once again and continue his scorching hot pace. And I think the other guys too have kind of slowed down a bit after a hot start. And I think Auston Matthews is on the rise here. What say you, Luca?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Is he going to go back to back? It could happen. And just given the value that he's at right now, I probably would put money on him. Draisaitl, though, he looks very, poised to potentially win this award, and Ovechkin too. But yeah, you look at the goal difference right now. Matthews is only a couple back, and he's starting to hit his stride right now. We see him playing some incredible hockey out there. So yeah, I would be on the same boat as you, Mike. I would definitely look into putting in this bet now and seeing how Matthews continues to play, and he's very well going to be in the conversation. Like he's not going to completely fall out of this thing. So that's the key. He's going to have a chance as we get closer to the end of the season to be up there amongst the other, elite goal scorers in the league. So it's worth a gamble. It's worth a try.
Send it. I'm calling it.
Let's send it. All right. We're going to send it now to our next segment, and it is Canada A. Yes, we've renamed it because we want to highlight Canadian talent from any sports league, really. And Mike, I'll give you the honor of going first. Who do you want to highlight here?
For sure, and I'm gonna completely break the rules on our first segment. I'm not gonna choose a Canadian, but I am gonna choose the president of a Canadian team, and that is Toronto FC president Bill Manning, who absolutely swung for the fences here and landed a megastar in Toronto, one that really is going to transform Major League Soccer. And of course, I'm talking about Lorenzo Insigne. Toronto FC made the deal official over the weekend, meaning Lorenzo Insigne will sign on a free transfer to join Toronto FC this summer. And that's music to everyone's ears, not only in Toronto, not only in Canada, but also I think around the league as a whole as MLS continues to evolve. And Bill Manning, Toronto FC are right at the forefront of that. So I love to see that move. I love to see the work that he put in to kind of get this across the line. And after a dreadful year last year, I think a lot of fans are excited now for Toronto FC in 2022, especially when you add Lorenzo Insigne. So I got to give some love right now to TFC president Bill Manning, Luca.
Did you order your jersey yet, Mike?
Not quite, not quite. I want to see because TFC's actually dropping a new jersey in the new year. So I want to see kind of what that looks like, and then I'll make a decision. But it's definitely tempting right now. Maybe I can help fund Lorenzo Insigne salary.
I like it. For my Canada A highlight here, I'm going to go with Chase Claypool. He had 5 receptions for 37 yards and a touchdown, not to mention 3 carries for 33 yards. But the biggest, fact that happened from this game is, his Steelers, they're going to the playoffs. And it looked like the Steelers had no chance of getting to the playoffs. But of course, that was made possible through the biggest upset of the day that saw the Jags beating the Colts. So all the Steelers had to do really was just beat the Ravens, which they did in overtime. It was an incredible game. And then all eyes were on Sunday night because it looked like we could have had a tie, which would have eliminated the Steelers from postseason contention. But luckily for the Steelers, the field goal was made for the Raiders, and the Steelers are off to the playoffs. So this is awesome to see. I got to say, just because of Big Ben, we know what's going on with him. This is the last season. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he's going to be given a chance to do it one last time in the playoffs, that's awesome. So Chase Claypool, he had a big game, and he was able to, snag a touchdown. And when it looked like the Steelers' playoff chances were done, they came alive last second. So Steelers fans everywhere, I know you're excited. Steelers have a chance. That's the good news. The bad news, though, you're going up against the Chiefs. And the last time the Steelers played the Chiefs, they got blown out. So it might be a short postseason for the Steelers, but who knows? We'll see. We've seen crazier things before in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah, I love that shout. Chase Claypool, 23 years old, so he still has the best years ahead of him. And he really worked his way out of kind of Mike Thomas' doghouse because he was not getting some love, I guess, not recently. And then he had a big game, of course, recently, and then they're making the playoffs. So I love to see Canadian talent, especially in the NFL when it's not too common on the big stage. And hey, it is the Chiefs, but at least he'll get that mainstream television audience, eh?
Yeah, exactly. He'll have a chance to perform against, one of the best teams and many people's pick to go to the Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens there. But we're going to switch gears now to our best bet of the night. And speaking about best bets, I'm coming in 1-0. I mean, I rode the Lakers and they covered against the Hawks -2.5. So, Mike, who are you taking with your best bet here? And what's your record looking like going into this one?
You're just rubbing it in, man. You're just rubbing it in. 0-1. 0-1 after I picked DeMar DeRozan to hit the over. It didn't work out, but I'm going to stay with the association, stay with the NBA. And there's a game that I like tonight. It's Milwaukee once again taking on Charlotte in Charlotte. The Bucks, they're coming off a loss to the same Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte again just 2 nights ago where they lost by 8 points. Giannis had 43 points that game. And, they weren't able to get it over the line that game. That being said, it's not very often the Bucks lose twice in a row to the Charlotte Hornets. They're actually 7-3 in their last 10 games against Charlotte. Charlotte's also been kind of the definition of inconsistent in the NBA this season. And it took a Terry Rozier really special performance for Charlotte to win on Saturday night. So I'm guessing that the Bucks, defending NBA champions, they find a way to cover this 2.5-point spread against Charlotte tonight as they are the favorites heading into this one. So I'm taking Milwaukee to cover the spread. How about you, Luca?
Yeah, I like that pick. I can totally get behind that. For myself, I'm going to go to the national championship game, just sticking with the football theme. I'm going to go with Alabama here. I'm going to take the points +3 at -110. They're a slight underdog here, but I like it. I think you look at Georgia, this Alabama team and Nick Saban live in their head rent free. This is a team that they got to prove that they can beat. And this is a good opportunity for them to finally exercise those demons and do that. But I just think Alabama, they might get off to a hot start like they have in games past. And if that happens, Georgia's going to be saying, here we go again. So I do expect this to be a closely contested game, down to the wire in the fourth quarter. So I will take the hook +3. I think Alabama even wins this game. So if you're feeling extra frisky, take them on the money line, but I won't go that far. I'll just, play it a little bit more safe and say Alabama +3. But I think this is going to be a fantastic game. If you have nothing to do tonight, guys, watch this national championship game. It's been highly anticipated. There's no NFL, of course, no Monday Nighters. So this is, in essence, the Monday Night Football game for all football lovers. We'll see who wins, but I will take Alabama +3 at -110. And hopefully I can improve my best bets record for this show to 2-0.
Massive game. And I like it. It's a bold pick. We'll see how this kind of plays out because Georgia's also looking very, very dangerous.
Yeah. I'm going against the grain a little bit. I'm just, going based on previous encounters between these two teams. So we'll see what happens. But that is going to conclude the latest of Toronto Today here on the Parlay. We talked Toronto sports as we do, and we featured some Canadian talent and also got to our best bet of the night. So let us know what you think of the show. And yeah, you can always, hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, all over social media. We're everywhere. This is Toronto Today here on the Parlay with Luca and Mike.